Hello.
Not a soul is here. We're alone. We can say anything we want and it won't be recorded on the internet, right?
I guess.
Anyway.
You got to get StreamYard because, sorry about the siren.
I got to get StreamYard because this sucks.
Yeah, I can't get my tweak here on my image.
Yeah, you got to have your image. Well, you could put like, I don't know. Yeah, well, you could close your camera if you want. It'll just be a black screen. It'll say your name. Because I just reached out to Restream. I tried their new experience. Their new experience, they replace the thumbnails for the people that are on the left with a bunch of weird scenes. And you can't see who's in the room anymore. That's their new experience. And then they started chatting with me, and their goddamn chat window, I couldn't get rid of it. You gotta click the need help button. Then it turns into a down arrow. Then you click that and it'll finally go away. But that wasn't very intuitive. Now he's bugging me, just checking in. Are you still there? It's like, should I tell him I'm fucking streaming right now, you jerks? But I mean, they covered up the whole half of the window where you are with a chat window, and I couldn't get rid of it. It's like, okay, where's the X on the window? You know, that way, how hard would it be to put an X on the window, right? No, they got to go run you through. Oh my God, I'm ready to go back to StreamYard. I've had it with them.
Well, because in StreamYard you got a little bar that you can adjust this fuzz in the background.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they don't have it on this. Anyway, complaining.
Seems to be like I just got to find the sweet spot to sit in.
Yep. So. What is this? Is moral disgust just bad? No. Okay. Joe Rogan asks why. On Ken Ham, you have a little comment here that I've highlighted, or that I'm showing.
I'm going to frame that.
Yeah. And you got hearted by Ken.
I got hearted by Ken Ham.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Kafai. There's one soul present. Emphasis on soul. I haven't heard from you for a while, Kafai. We got a lot to talk about. We should have a phone conversation. Anyway. And do you have anybody watching now? Yeah, two. No, just me and you. What the hell is going on? Anyway, you need to read the Bible. Isaiah 45:7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. It says that in the Bible. He admits it.
Well, he Ken Ham's spiel is that God made a perfect world and that man is the reason it's all screwed up, right? It's our sin that messed up the world. But it clearly says in Isaiah that God does all things, good things and bad things.
Yeah. Does evil things, all things. Wow. Now that's interesting.
So it's not man to blame. God, it says God does all these things.
All these things. Yeah.
That's right. He makes peace. He makes evil. There's different wording. Some are calamity and disaster, and there's different words used, but it's all basically the same thing. It's good things and bad things. Light and dark.
Well, I say we caught him red-handed, right? These are his words.
I took a screenshot.
Oh my. Anyway. So I put the link. Okay. Another one of my pet peeves is when you're watching a YouTube video and the person starts talking about a comment stream, that he had, but they don't source the video where you got the comments. So I put the video in my description so that you can find out where this comment stream is. Because I have another one with MadeByJimbob where we're going over a little bit on information.
Breakfast Tacos was all over him again last night.
Oh, was he? Oh, cool.
Yep.
Let's see here if I can make this work. Does that work? Yeah, that works. I don't know if you can read that or not. But Jimbob did a stream. I don't know what the hell he was talking about information, right? And he was talking about how somehow
It's a little
information
small.
proves God. Really? No, it's as big as the screen, I think, or as big as I can get it.
Man,
Well,
I don't.
could be bigger.
I got old eyes.
Okay, could be bigger. Anyway, I hope people can see it, but I'm not sure. Anyway, he was talking about, information is all non-physical or abstract or whatever. And the thing is, people are very confused about the word information because we will use it to represent me transferring some knowledge to you linguistically or by text or by diagrams, that I'm giving you some instructions that you're going to see. So they confuse it with language, right? But there's a metaphysical view of information that makes it entirely physical. So, did I lose you, Dave?
No, I was just seeing if I had an avatar. There's no avatar.
Yeah, if you take your camera off, it goes away. Interesting. But makes it bigger, but I don't know. Anyway.
They got problems.
Yep. So I texted him. I said, okay, dum-dum, give me an example of information that is not etched in the physical. Like, okay, if I transfer information to you by writing something down and showing it to you, okay, it's there's a physical representation of that information. And he came back and said, not sure what you mean by etched. Whether information can be applied to a physical medium is irrelevant to whether or not information itself is physical. Geometry and math can be etched into the physical, but neither are found in nature as physical. Okay. And then I said, geometry and math as well are only discovered in the physical. By etched, I mean there is no instance of information without a physical medium. What you and even many secularists are missing is that information is in the very substantial nature of 4D space-time. And I'm going to explain that because that's, oh my goodness, that's not a typical view. Some people will say that information is like abstract and it's not physical. And a lot of physicalists will say that. But I think that's where we get into trouble, and I can show you why. And he said, again, we aren't discussing, we are what the, okay, discussing whether the physical allows for the metaphysical. What the fuck does that mean? We're talking about whether information, geometry, math, meaning is identical to the physical, right? And then I said, that is an idiotic treatment of what information is. The meaning of the word apple is intentional and derived by a web of life experiences. But the information that an apple consists in has fuck all to do with language. Why do you choose to muddy this discussion up with language? Or is it just your shtick? And then I said, this morning I felt bad. So I said, okay, Jimbob, there are more than one kind of information in your apple example. And it goes on, and it's a little bit lengthy. Where are we here? My response is a little bit lengthy. If you had listened, I tried to explain the language issue by reference to my cats. When I was on the stream, I was talking to them. But anyway, I go on, and instead of going on, maybe I can explain what the hell I mean. Oh my God, he's tech. Now he covered up my screen again. Jesus. The guy from Restream. I can't get him to go away. He keeps trying to chat with me. Anyway.
Well, just tell him, hey, we're on right now and it don't work.
Yeah, doesn't work.
And you got a guest on and it don't work and the background sucks. And
yeah, everything sucks.
Put him on live. We'll tell him.
It all sucks, right?
Turn on your camera, pal.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we explain this? Okay. What does Jimbob say? With information, meaning, okay, he said something else here. Oh, he talks about, did he delete that part? I can't find that part. Because he was talking.
I know Taco said last night that they're back and forth in whatever, and then he made it private. So yeah, if he doesn't do well, he makes it private. You can't see him. So.
That's a bad apple. That's a bad apple. That's a really bad apple. I gotta fix my apple. Let's see. That kind of looks like an apple, right? Sort of an apple. Okay.
Sure.
So this is an apple. Now Jimbob says, okay, there's him. All I gotta do is his beard, right? No, that I can't do it. There's Jimbob, and then there's me, and we. Okay, he said that if he says apple to me, there's a perturbation of air around my ears, basically, but nowhere in that perturbation of the air are you going to find the word apple, or are you going to find an apple, right? So you're not going to find an apple in that, right? And it's like, yeah, Jimbob, that's because we're talking about two different things here. Now, the apple itself is a physical object, okay? And it's something that we run into in the world all throughout our life. And now there's something really interesting about the information that exists in an apple. And that is that there's a homology, that they're usually red. They have a certain shape. Even if they're not red, we can recognize them by their shape, by their overall shape. They usually have like a little stem. They got some ripples here. They got a little shine on them, you know, and we can recognize an apple because we've seen many, many apples before. Oh my God, you better close. He's doing it again. Jesus, stop it. Restream guy, go away. Jesus Christ. He says, I'm going to close this conversation. No. Oh my God. Rate your conversation. He came back again. I can't get rid of him. Okay.
Just type in there. It's not working. Join the stream. It's not working.
So then, see, we're conflating two things here. Okay. There's the actual physical apple, which is somewhere in space and time. And that has information, okay, in space time. And the information amounts to where it is and what its shape is and what its overall homology and or its overall geometry, right? And how we recognize apples. It has a substance. It's made of certain chemicals. There's a lot of things about the apple. We can smell the apple. We can bite the apple. And over our lifetime, we humans see all of those apples, and we learn that there is a... Greg. Oh, my God. Goodbye, Greg. We learn that there is a word. Okay, if we're English, we will learn the word apple. And we will say apple, and the perturbation that he's talking about, the sound waves for apple, are something that we also learn. But that is like, okay, we can call that like sound waves, right? So those particular sound waves are another piece of information, and that says apple. So that's another piece of information that transfers between us. But then inside of each of our brains, there's a hell of a lot more information. There's tons more information that we've created over our lifetime. So now if you want to talk about all the information that is in apple, in the word apple, which refers to the fucking apple, okay, and in the sound waves for the English word apple, we've got a lot of information in the universe to talk about. We have to talk about the entire content of that apple. I mean, we could go down to the submolecular level and talk about the quantum mechanics that's involved in the bonding of the electrons, or we could talk about the molecules, or we could talk about the cells, or we could talk about, the skin, what's in the skin, the cell membrane, all of that. So there's just a huge amount of information. But one of the most important things in what I said about 4D space-time, so 4D space-time, is that the apple also is located at some spot, usually in the universe. Right now, how many apples do you think there are in the universe? I'm guessing 100 million, 10 million. It got to be 100 million, right?
It's got to be an incredible number. Yeah.
A lot of apples, right?
And if you're writing, it's not showing up, by the way.
Oh, no. Son of a bitch. Oh, YouTube. No. This one is on Apple. And hang on a second here. Or maybe
but the argument against Jimbob is even without our minds, there's still information in the apple.
Right.
Yeah. Like you said, all the way down to the atomic level, there's information there. So it doesn't have to be us to interpret it, although that's extra information. You still have information without the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So he wants to bring it into the human sphere, right? Where we have these sound waves that represent a word in English called apple, which refers to something we've encountered in our life that are apples. Like you and I have encountered enough apples that when I say apple, you can actually see an apple a little bit in your head, right? So all of that stuff is in our brains, and there's a ton of information in our brains that refers to that. But what they're doing is they're conflating two things. This information, this idea that information is transferred from me to you, right? But really, there is no such thing as the information transferred from me to you. There is simply noise in the universe. There's your mind and my mind, right? And what happens in our minds, and then an entirely different matter is there are apples in the universe. So you see, these are totally different categories of things, right? So we've got this.
And by the way, you get just in the United States 255 million bushels annually of apples.
Oh my God! So there's about 1 billion apples. Well,
and
annually.
You can put what, 50 apples in a bushel, maybe.
Yeah, but I'm guessing there are 100 million sitting in grocery stores right now. Maybe less.
And that's just the United States. So yeah, a lot of apples. So,
I wonder how many apples. Anyway, so how do we straighten that out so that this is clear? We have the objects, right? So we have an object, and then we have a linguistic habit of referring to that object, and then we have minds. Am I still showing up? Yep, it hasn't gone away yet.
Yep.
So we have minds, and then we have sound waves. So we have many different categories of things here that they're conflating, and they act as if they're all the same thing, right? And that's where we get into trouble when we talk about information. Now, for me, information is like you have a space-time coordinate system here, and you can see all the squares I have, right? And we could, we have an apple at this point, and then we have Jimbob down here, and Dave up here, and me right here, right? And we're all at a certain part in the universe. We could say, we could take our center of mass, and we could come up with a point in the universe, and there's a lot of space-time going on here. And as time goes on, time is another dimension. So basically, for me, information is the particular location of things in the universe. That there's stuff here at this point and stuff here at this point. And do you follow that? How I define information? I define it as like one good way is stuff. and stuff
It,
not.
Jim Bob don't like stuff.
You don't like stuff.
That's it. Him and Taco was that's what the tacos video was yesterday.
Oh, really?
The stuff.
Okay, we gotta find that video.
I don't exactly remember how he worded it, but something about everything comes from pre-existing stuff.
Was that
something like that was his premise?
Was that on Breakfast Tacos channel, or was it on JimBob?
Taco. No, yeah, Taco was on. Pretty sure it was last night.
Okay. Anyway, but the thing about the universe that we live in is that there is very much something for an object to be at one place or another place, right? I mean, if it's out in your yard, you could actually talk to me and transfer, all sorts of other physical events would happen between us. And I could come over on a plane, go to your backyard and find the apple in your yard. I mean, you could tell me where the apple is. You could locate it in space time, right? So that's one thing, the actual existence of the apple in space time. But then there's a whole bunch of other things that would have like if you had the task of getting me to come over and look at your apple, there's a whole lot of other physical information that would happen in that exchange over a period of a couple days where we tried to locate it. I got a plane ticket and I came out to see that damn apple. So there's two different things that we've got the thing referred to, and then we have the thing referring to it. But that's where we get in all kinds of human trouble, where we talk about human beings. And now we got language, we got words, we got sound waves, we have brains, we have neuroscience, we have biology. All of this stuff confuses us about what information is. But for me, it's very simply this shit right here, where things are in space time and what their shape is. If you got right down to it, if we went down to the tiniest level, we'd end up in quantum field theory, where we don't want to go. But I mean, at the level that humans talk about, we can talk about atoms and where they are in the universe, that sort of thing, roughly. We'll pick an area, and we'll kind of draw a circle around 1 inch, and we'll say, okay, there's some apple atoms in that inch. We know there's carbon and nitrogen and potassium and phosphorus and all of that stuff in that inch. And
what he doesn't like is the words you're using are describing these things that are information, regardless of whether we can describe them or not.
Yeah.
He always has to have the mind or it like it doesn't exist. And it's like, if we all disappeared, there would still be apple trees, providing, a disease or some, didn't wipe them out or whatever. You would still have the information in the apple that makes apples and what the apple is.
Well, yeah.
And when the deer comes along, it's still, that transferring of food and through the chain and everything else. It doesn't really matter if we're eating them or not, if we taste them or not, if we smell them or not. He can't leave the separation of there has to be the metaphysical mind, or however he wants to describe it.
Well, he gets even worse. Okay, now instead of talking about what I just talked about, right, the stuff over here where I'm talking about two hypothetical human beings, hypothetical language, hypothetical sound waves, hypothetical apples, apples in our past. He wants to go out here and he wants to go meta and start talking about how I am describing that. So I'm describing something to him, transferring other information and knowledge, trying to describe it. So now he wants to go meta and talk about descriptions of apples and apples and sound waves and information. So if we're trying to talk to somebody about how information is physical, we sure as fuck don't want to go meta and start talking about the information that I'm transferring to you while I'm trying to explain to you what the fuck information is in the first place. Okay, we want to get right back down to the core of things. What is the information at the core of things? And that would be the apple itself. So if you want to talk about apples, there are apples in the universe right now, right here in this country, in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. And I want to go right down to that level and talk to you about what information is in that apple and how information is physical. And information is physical because at certain points in space-time, you either have stuff or you have stuff not. There's either empty space or there's some molecules or there's some atoms. So you see what I mean? How philosophers are so full of shit because they can't help but go from this area down to this area where humans are talking about it, and then up to this area where humans are talking about it. I mean, it's like, how far do you want to go down a goddamn rabbit hole before you start making some sense? And anyway, that's, I'm not sure.
It seems to be another one of those cases like when they try to explain what the Bible means to you, and the more they explain it, the less it makes sense.
Right.
And I'm one of the ones that I like the arguments that everything can be explained simply with simple formulas like E equals MC squared. You don't need, books of philosophy to explain something that can come down to just E equals MC squared. There you go. It's very simple. It's a simple formula. It almost everybody knows it by heart. I mean, you don't even have to be a mathematician. Almost everybody knows it. So I think adding and adding and adding to it is just a problem. And I think it just becomes more complicated, and then more that everybody's firing back at the arguments because you're adding more and more and more and more of all these things that I don't think need to be there.
Yep. So, I mean, it's, when I think about is the information physical, and I think about, the space-time universe, whatever, and we can get rid of this part right here, the Z part. We can simplify it and just talk about a two-dimensional world, three-dimensional world, two spatial dimensions and one time, right? And I wanted to, so for me, information, there is something in the universe for it to have a particular atom at some point in the universe. And we'll just go down to atoms, right? So I've got a carbon atom here. And if, of course, it's wiggling around or whatever, but forget about that for the moment. If I have a carbon atom here, and I have an oxygen atom here and an oxygen atom there, then I got some CO2, right? So we can take that as a point in the universe and say there's a molecule of CO2 there. There is something for that CO2 to be there. It would be very different if we had methane there, right? Basically CH4. It would be a different thing. And
that's the way I understand it. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's basic molecules are information. That's all you need is that bond, and you have information.
But it isn't just what they are, it's where they are. So the where is how information happens in the universe. So it's not just what, but it's where also, because the CO2 can be here or it can be over here. Say we have methane over here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's a methane molecule. So that's the very basic way to understand what information is. What is the difference between physical and material, Mosi? Hang on a second. I'm missing chat. Guys. I'm sorry. I haven't been paying attention. But I'm pretty much done with my diatribe.
There's been some amusing comments there. You want to go back and check through them there. Okay. I can't highlight stuff, so you have to do it.
Yeah, physical covers like energy and space-time, and like even empty space would be a physical thing, whereas material would just mean matter. Now we're talking about atoms, right? But physical would be, I mean, there's obviously photons going back and forth here too.
So material makes up the physical. Turn it around.
Yeah. Well, yeah, material is pretty much what makes up the information that we have, matter at particular spots in space-time. And of course, then the thing is that you have to stop at some point. We could go down into quantum mechanics, or we could go down, we could come up now to atoms and chemistry, and we could come up larger to apples and trees. I mean, the thing is, when you're dealing with the philosophy of these things, you have to pick a reference frame, or you have to pick what resolution you're going to be talking at, right? So if we're talking at the resolution of atoms, which is kind of all that we need to know as humans, we can talk about just atoms and where atoms are. So we don't have to go any further. And we could talk about energy a little bit too.
Yeah, Sydney said what similar to what we're talking there. So simply, there is information about one thing. It does not need to be communicated or even observed. Right.
Information about something.
Those are all extras, but they're not a necessity. And JimBob wants to make those a necessity, or at least in a God mind or somewhere out there, it has to exist in the mind, or it doesn't exist, I guess, which that's where I get lost on his argument.
Yeah. You got graphicated. It don't rain in Indianapolis. And it's hi, Stephanie, and Doorknob Head, and Old Joe's here. And let's see, could you call information data at its, data at its core? Yeah, data is also a word that, we tend to think of data in computers and in computer science. And that allows us to, it creates a level of obfuscation. But yeah, I guess what I'm describing is data, but then you have to look at it like we're going to describe a coordinate in space time. So we have X, Y.
Well, isn't data what our interpretation though? Isn't
kind of, yeah. Well,
because you would have the information, but then we would gather the data on that information in that molecule, right?
Yeah, if I were to describe the apple in utter detail, right, at every point where there's an atom in the apple, I would say that this one here equals what the hell could I? Okay, some lipid, right? at that particular point in space time, right? And we go on and we create another one for the second particle in the apple, right? And we could go all the way down, and we would end up with a list that basically, if we stacked up the paper that we have to write this on, it'd probably reach the moon, right? But all of that is information. That apple consists of all this information. But here's the interesting thing about apples and space-time and the universe is not only is there that location information of every atom, but apples, there's more than one apple in the universe, right? On the earth, more than one apple. There's something about the apple, the way it's arranged, the way those space-time coordinates are put together, that is homologous with other apples. Now, if we look at the clouds, we can see Jesus up there because there's something about the way the clouds are oriented that has a different kind of information, like a rather than going down to where the hell am I? I don't know what I did here. Rather than go down to this particulate level, right? We've come up to a larger, we've increased the resolution or decreased the resolution, and now we're looking at bigger structures, and we're saying there is something homologous about this apple and this apple. There's something about them that makes them look like the same object to a human being. And that's interesting because our brains are all about, in fact, the main function of our brains is finding those homologies, Those things, homo means same. Ology is, I think that's logos, or I'm not sure. But anyway, homologous means that it has the same shape, roughly the same shape, not the exact shape. They're not they're not, they're not, oh, what is the other one? Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. I'll get it. I'll get it in a minute. Anyway, there's a difference between being identical and being somewhat like, having the same shape, having the same arrangement in space time, and that's how mathematics arises from the physical. We find these homologies, these things that, like, we could find 3 stars basically. Let's see, current template. Okay, we could find 3 stars in the sky, right there. Okay, and then there are a whole bunch of other stars in the sky. Let's see here. I want a different color. So there are other stars in the sky around it, right? And other stars over here in a different spot in the sky, like over here and here and here. And then we can find 3 stars again. Okay. And there's a thing about these stars, that they have this triangle shape, right? Because there are 3 things. That's something in the universe. And these things, like, this could be light years, and this could be hundreds of light years over here. So that, there's a difference in scale, but they still have something about them. And this is called homology. That is where they are like each other, the shapes. And that's how we come up with mathematics. We get our mathematics from this property of space-time in the universe, where things are at a particular coordinate or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Quantum apples.
Once you explained it at the end of it.
If you have backyard apples, maybe what? No, I didn't want to.
Yeah, Sydney says we're neglecting the oranges.
Fuck the oranges. They're sour. They're sour. They're from Florida. I don't do Florida anymore. I'm done with Florida. Yeah, the apples are from California.
Yeah, and what you were saying, that we've talked a little bit about this before, and I think I shared a couple of videos with you where they were you were talking about more of the macro and the micro, and that sometimes in that one video, it was on Closer to the Truth. It was a little while back, but he was talking about that sometimes that we're more interested in getting down to the micro and examining everything right down to the atom, and then you leave out the macro of how it all comes together to make the bigger picture, like an example of an airplane, right? You can get down to just the individual molecules of metal and everything, but that doesn't actually explain an airplane or how an airplane works. And then I was watching, I don't remember his name, but the famous guy that invented the EK, the pacemaker and everything.
Oh,
what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Creationist?
No, biologist.
Okay, biologist.
He buddies with Richard Dawkins and everything. He's an old timer. Anyway, he was just talking about that there's the same thing in biology, and when you hear about
Dennis Noble.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
okay,
Noble.
He didn't invent the pacemaker. He
invented the algorithm or whatever for it, and yeah.
There's something in your heart called a pacemaker. Okay, there are 2 of them actually. That basically starts your heartbeat, and he created a computer algorithm for that. And he learned, they used to think it was like, I think they thought it was like neurons that fired off your heartbeat. And they figured out that it wasn't. It was a chemical thing, and very, very different. So,
but he's speaking on, you hear these things, and a lot of the creationists latch onto it about how we need redo evolution and how even Dawkins updated the selfish gene with some things that just weren't known at the time, right? He admits, well, maybe there's these other things. Yeah, so Noble was talking about the same thing with biology, is that there seem to be more concentrated on the micro, and again leaving out the macro. Yeah. And that all these things and the origin of life and everything else is not just the emergent of, from here to there. It's the encompassing of the macro of everything coming into it as well. And he says, and that's what can give evolution and life purpose, without it being from a mind like a deity or what Jimbob wants. It has to be a mind out there. That all these things that were, again, concentrating too much on the micro and leaving out the macro. And it seems to be coming up more and more that better explain these things. And I think that's what you were hinting at, is that you can't just look at the micro. You have to look at the macro. And with like life and evolution, it's as these systems come together and evolve, then it's a whole new game, because every little thing changes everything for the macro and from the micro at the same time.
Yeah. So MadeByJimbob was actually playing some Dennis Noble yesterday, or maybe the day.
No. I was watching an interview with him.
Okay. So MadeByJimbob was actually playing Dennis Noble and using him as proof that evolution doesn't work, because
he's taking it out of context. Yeah.
All right. Right. Because he's taking it out of context.
That's not what Dennis Noble says. Dennis Noble is not a theist. He doesn't believe in all those. Everything can be explained naturally. And and I've seen it before from, Ken Ham and all the rest of them, how they like to cherry pick articles where they see one of these people, and he's close friends with Richard Dawkins. He reviewed the original papers or something when he was writing The Selfish Gene in 1966 or something. He's known him forever. But they're taking it out of taken out of context, is that it's not that they're throwing all of evolution away. It's that they need to take a better look at, again, how everything comes together, and each step exponentially changes everything on the macro from the micro. And it is answering more of, where does life come from? Why do organisms do things, like, other than just look for food? Why are they doing things like looking around for whatever partners, or even playing? It seems that some species are just playing. They're not doing anything other than, that has to do with reproduction or eating. They're just playing. And that these things can all arise, and what you can call having a purpose. And this is something that theists want in a lot of their arguments, is that you have to have a purpose, or there's no point to life. And he's talking about there's plenty of purpose in nature, that it gives itself without a divine mind. So if I didn't send it to you, I'll send you the interview. It's really neat.
Yeah, and even if there isn't any purpose out there, there's purpose inside of us. We're the ones that find meaning, purpose, morality, whatever. We're a human organism, and within our lives, within our framework, within our communities, we have all the goddamn meaning, purpose, and teleological bullshit that we need. But okay, so old Joe's actually talking about what data is. So another way to explain it is, when you get to the point, when you're talking about data, I asked ChatGPT, said it's information that can be used for analysis, reference, or decision making. It comes in various forms. So what we're talking about with data is this stuff, where we have a way of describing our what and where, right, in the universe. Like if we have 100 people in this town and 300 people in that town, okay. If you go down to the level of information I'm talking about, you look at the atoms in that town and the atoms in this town and how they make up people. That's one kind of information. But another kind is that homologous overall information that there are 100 people here and 300 people in the other town. So
It's in the private chat for you there, Mike. It was
I'll pull that.
Science is Reconsidering Evolution on the Variable Minds channel.
Okay. Let's see. I wonder if Variable Minds, yeah. Yeah, that was the one that Jimbob brought up. That was his proof that evolution.
What a coinkydink! I didn't even know that, and I was watching the video. That's wild.
Yeah, neo-Darwinism is dead.
In fact, that comment I made, the comments were on that same video where he was bringing it up, and that's kind of what it was about. So yeah,
the problem. And I wanted to bring one up. Oh, go ahead. I got another question for you though.
Okay, the problem with Dennis Noble is he's kind of he's like 94 years old. He doesn't give a shit anymore. And
no, he don't.
He kind of likes to poke evolutionists, and he pokes Dawkins, and he pokes everybody in the field, right? And he will sit down with intelligent design people. And basically he was there on that committee when they come up with that $10 million prize. Perry Marshall, I think his name was, that John Maddox had on. So Noble will play with those guys, and he creates all of these sound bites for the creationists to use. And he does not give a shit anymore. Dennis Noble doesn't. He just likes to poke people. And he's really a neat guy, actually. Kind of like him. But
in the end, though, he is not making a theistic argument. He flat out says in this interview that you can have purpose in an organism without any divine intervention. It can be perfectly naturally explained, and you can have purpose. So I think it's really neat because it's taking away one of their arguments. I'm sure a lot of people have heard, without God, you don't have any purpose, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's saying no, that with everything taken in, and it's not that he wants evolution thrown out like they're trying to say he's saying. It's just that there has to be something more to it. And again, origins of life too. I don't think they would argue that there has to be something, because if you just throw the chemicals in a vat, you don't get life, right? There has to be what's going on in the macro as well as just the ingredients.
Right. I'm trying to pull this up here. Let's see here. What is that called? It's called Science Is. But to
me, at least, it makes more sense that instead of looking for just this one thing, the smoking gun, whatever, the missing link, whatever word you want, that one little thing that's going to solve it all, is that you also have to have the macro going on all around it, or it doesn't really do anything or mean anything. Just like a bunch of chemicals in a vat won't make, we can lay out the recipe for humans, for instance. There's so much, all these elements, right? But if you throw them in a vat, you don't get a person. So yeah, there's a lot more going on than just the ingredients. And I've seen creationists use this where they just throw a bunch of stuff in a bucket and they say, hey, how come nothing's going on? Because there's no macro going on to influence the micro.
Yeah. So I think I'm at the spot where he talks about it, but let's give it a roll.
Called Evolution on Purpose. Now we're coming to the deep rift between Darwin and his neo-Darwinist opponents, Wallace Weismann. They wanted to get rid of the concept of purpose. Darwin was entirely with it because what he saw in organisms like the peacock or in squid or in the octopus, what he saw was clearly purposive behavior. Now, the neo-Darwinists say, well, but that's just quaint 19th century anthropomorphic talking. Of course, he's no longer with us to answer, but I think Darwin's reply would be very much the same as I would give. No, the purpose has evolved. It's as simple as that. You don't have to suppose the purpose was there before the organisms existed. The purpose is itself an evolution.
Noble has proposed a theory of biological relativity, where reductionist scientific approaches, which dominate physics and chemistry and are used to determine causation, are insufficient for understanding living systems, from origins of life research to health, disease, and consciousness.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what the part that you saw was, but he's basically saying that he said that purpose, meaning all of that, evolved, and every animal has it to the same as we do, right?
And it's another one of those evolution things. You can never pinpoint where exactly it was.
Yeah.
Because it evolved.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the little picture and the big picture, and he's accusing neo-Darwinists of ignoring the bigger picture, trying to find the answer in the micro, where it's a combination of everything. You have to have all these things come together again, or the chemicals in the vat don't do anything.
Yeah, just look at that devil. He's a devil. I mean, he really
smart guy.
Oh, he's a very smart guy.
You're looking at maybe the first computer programmer and algorithm writer ever on a valve computer.
Yep.
Basically light bulbs turning on and off.
Yeah, vacuum tubes.
That's the guy. He's no slouch.
Yeah, in England, they call them valves. In the United States, we call them vacuum tubes. And, of course, the English are wrong, as usual. They're always fucking
Well, everybody knows the old 50s and 60s, right? All the computers were lights blinking on and off, on and off.
Yeah.
That's what he used. It was just 1 or 0, 1 or 0. And he had to learn how to do it and everything, even though they had already invented the thing. There was no, keyboard to type stuff in or any, he had to write the program to make those lights do 1 or no, 1 or not, over and over and over again to prove his algorithm about the heart.
And then they invented punch cards
rhythm,
so that you could do it a little bit faster with punch cards. When I first started in computer science, we actually had a punch card reader, basically, and we had to prepare punch cards and send it over phone lines with a modem to a mainframe computer down in Minneapolis and run our programs. And then,
when I was in Cub Scouts, one of the projects we did was we made Christmas wreaths with old punch cards because they would throw them away, boxes and boxes of them, So somebody had an idea somewhere, and my dad saw it, and being in the Scouts and everything. He's like, we throw away boxes of those things. So yeah, he brought home some boxes of these punch cards, and we folded the end over into a little point and stapled it, and then just went round and round and round and round, and then we spray painted them green and red and everything for Christmas. And because they had all the punch little holes in them, you know what I mean? It gave them a little, what do you call it? Texture or whatever, right? And everybody that was a relative of everybody in my scout den got a punch card Christmas wreath.
Who's awesome clips? You can have purpose, but not objective. Objective purpose can only be described by the creator. I don't know what the hell. Oh, the creator.
But I got another question for you. When we were talking about before about that basically the idea that you can be downloaded into a computer or make a clone of you seems impossible, because you can never you talked before about even the split second amounts of time in between, and then not counting all the experiences and everything else. And I was watching Sean Carroll talk about it, and that he says let's say we can take everything that is Sean Carroll and download it into a computer. He said, can we make another Sean Carroll? He says, no. Yeah. So my question is, Star Trek has a transporter where it basically disassembles you and reassembles you. Would that be then also impossible because you could never do it?
No, according to, if you looked at Star Trek technology, yes, but you got to understand, when they disassemble Captain Kirk, he dies, and then another one is created somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not him.
Yeah, but it's going to have all of the exact molecular arrangement and it could be him in
Yeah,
another place, and it would be as if he woke up. And that's really interesting because every second of your life, that happens. We die and we're reborn in every moment of our life. We just don't see it that way because we have this this memory, right? This mind memory where we think we are the same thing from one moment to the next. But actually, we're always losing molecules and gaining molecules and changing all the time.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah, I use that was Fortran, the program that I was talking about. We had a program called Eliza that was like, I think it was Eliza. It was like a little psychiatrist. You'd ask it questions, and if you would swear at it, it would it had a little stock answer it would give you. But it was the simplest artificial intelligence program, and this was in 1970. When the hell was it? 74 that I went to college, and yeah. It was.
Yeah, but but the thing is, yes, every time somebody gets beamed somewhere in Star Trek, they're dead.
Yeah, they're gone.
It's not that other person because you can never. It's like trying to pass up the universe expansion, right? It's a futile effort. You can't ever go. You'll never be able to get to the end of the universe because it's always moving, right? And it's the same thing with this. No matter what you do, no matter how you download yourself, no matter how you try to make an exact copy of you, it won't be you.
Oh, really? They address this problem of you dying and just appearing somewhere else? Let's see. John Carroll believes. Yeah, I don't know about this universe splitting bullshit.
But he was nailing him down of, could I make another Sean Carroll? He said no.
Oh, you remember Eliza? How about that? So there's somebody else that's as ancient as I am.
But it brought up my question with a lot of this talk about being able to download yourself into a computer and basically be immortal, right? And there seems to be a problem there that it won't be you.
Yeah, it won't be unless they could take all that data. Now here we have data, right? If they downloaded you into a computer, what are they going to download? They obviously can't download your flesh into the computer.
Oh, he was talking about every neuron, every little thing that you could possibly copy. If you could possibly do that, would it make another you? And he said, no, it would be akin to having a twin. It wouldn't be you. So I found it interesting that, this is Sean Carroll's opinion. I mean, take it or leave it. But he was saying that, no matter what they do, they can never make another copy of you. It won't be you.
Yeah,
so it was really interesting.
The thing is, if you gotta think this through quite a lot in order to figure it out, right? What's happening if you download data into a computer, right? So I've got me over here, and I'm going to get downloaded into a computer, and then they're going to take me out and shoot me in the head. Don't do that at all, boys and girls. Anyway, so I got to draw.
That was the argument, though. Yeah, they download you, and then you're gone.
Right.
And Sean Carroll says you're gone. Yeah.
When they download you, what are they downloading? They're downloading data, which is going to be like those X, Y, Z, T coordinates that I'm talking about, right? Well, they don't need the T. So they're going to download all of the data, all of my molecules. And they think it's enough just to download these synapses, basically, where you have, basically this is a synapse for a neuron. So you're going to download the strength of every synapse and every synapse and how it's connected to other synapses. Okay, these things basically have branches going inward, and we have a few more branches going outward. So they have to download every single one of those. But that wouldn't be enough. That would not be enough just to download the synaptic strength. You'd also have to have the glial cells around your neurons and the astrocytes and all of that, because your brain looks more like head cheese than a diagram. They always show these neuron diagrams, right? You got a neuron, you got another one going over here, and then you got another neuron going into that thing. and then it goes up into the cell body, and it goes out, and it goes to another neuron. Those diagrams are not the whole story. If you look at your brain, it looks like, have you ever seen head cheese? It's like this meat where they take a whole bunch of stuff and make a slab, and it's got like little different colors in it. I mean, you got to look at it in order to see what I mean.
Yeah, parts gelatin.
Right. But then along with that, you're going to have to download all the information about my body, right? Because that is important too. Because there's intelligence out in my stomach. There's intelligence in my spinal cord. There's synaptic strengths to every muscle. I mean, all of that would have to be downloaded.
And it all goes out the window exponentially, because in that split second between the time you download it and eliminate the original, time has elapsed.
Right. You're going to be different. Yeah.
And you're going to be different.
Yeah. But if they could get an exact down to the atom copy of you at, with the exact structure and not screw any of the quantum mechanics up and get it to actually be functioning after they downloaded it, then you would have a twin. Then you would be identical, but it would have to be every single atom. You'd have to get down to the level of information I was talking about. But I was it old Joe that was asking about data. So the difference is that the data would be something that we humans use to represent atoms and where they are. We'd say, okay, we got a carbon atom at position 1, 3.5, 7.0 at time t, right? That's data. But that now we've crossed over into that putative, everyday, common sense human realm when we're talking about data. So you want to be really careful when you're talking about data and information. I'm talking about that actual nanosecond where things are that make you up right now. And of course, in 1 nanosecond, hence, you're going to be different and more constantly. I mean, we constantly change.
If you were thinking about plugging yourself into your computer and becoming immortal, doesn't seem to be feasible.
Oh,
and then, the whole thing with being transported in Star Trek, that opens up that whole, philosophical argument of those people are all dead. None of the originals are there. They're all gone, and they just made copies. And it's really weird when you start thinking about it.
Yeah, Peter F. Hamilton. He's a wonderful science fiction writer, right? And he created a series called The Reality Dysfunction. If they ever make a movie out of that series, it's going to be the greatest sci-fi movie ever made. And they would have to make 12 of them to cover reality dysfunction. But anyway, I'm glad you brought up Peter Hamilton. And I don't, is he still alive? I thought I read that he passed away. No, he's still alive. How about that shit? I'm glad he's alive. He's 64 years old. He's a young man. Oh, he's a young pop.
A youngster.
A youngster, yeah. Anyway, oh my goodness. From a higher dimensional perspective, it really looks like an undulating fractal snake or octopus, which is diversely multiple. I mean, yeah. Yeah, if you do DMT, that's the way it looks. But we're not going to do DMT. They're making DMT gummies now. Somebody is.
Yeah.
2 different gummies that you take. You can have, ayahuasca gummies. Basically, you take one, the MAOI inhibitor, and then an hour later you take the DMT, and off you go for 6 hours. You will for 6 hours you'll be saying shit like this, like Kafai says. Undulating fractal snakes will be everywhere.
I had my back bothered me last week, and the doctor gave me some anti-inflammatories, but they didn't help my stomach any better than the ibuprofens were. And I was trying, all the different, over-the-counter stomach meds, stuff you got in the medicine cabinet, Tums and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, just my stomach won't. And on top of it, my back hurts, right? So I'm half crippled, bent over, trying to get my back, going again, because I pulled a muscle bad. And then my stomach's bothering me on top of it. And then finally I thought, hey, you know what? Got a few gummies stashed. So I got out a gummy, and I'll be damned if it didn't calm my stomach right down. I felt a lot better.
Really?
So
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
you have a upset belly, maybe consider a gummy. It worked for me. So it was quite the relief, especially, if you know, when your back's hurting you and then your stomach's hurting you, you're double the misery, right? So at least it brought me some relief. And then I was able to get my back stretched out. So, but yeah, that was miserable. I mean, once again, you hear of all the jokes about side effects, and here we go. Just take some of this, and then it upset my stomach. Didn't make me feel better.
Oh.
I was not this happy face last week. Trust me.
Okay. I think my fucking like button is broken again. I don't know. Not sure. Just saying. Got one.
Look all right.
Huh?
You look all right.
Oh, my like button's broken.
Oh, your like button. Okay, I thought you said like.
No. I don't have a like button. I got a lot of windows laying around, but anyway. Oh, I don't know. The thing is, when you talk to people about philosophy, there's a couple of different things you got to keep in mind. Number one is the resolution that you're talking about. When you're talking about physicality, you're talking about the atomic level, the quantum level, the macro level, the apple level, the human level, the cosmic level. You got to pick a level and you got to stay. And then when you're talking about things like information, you have to take a God's eye view and completely separate out humanity and language and all of our culture and all of that bullshit. You have to take all that out. Now you're just talking about the physical. And when you're talking about the physical, you're only talking about those space-time coordinates and what particular quantum field is at that particular coordinate. That's what you're talking about. And then you move up a resolution. Now we can talk about atoms. And we should always talk about just atoms because we humans cannot fucking grasp that quantum bullshit that's going on down there. We screw it up every time we try to think about it. We come up with shit like Sean Carroll, where multiple universes are spinning off because wave functions collapse. Fuck all that. Just stick with atoms. Stick with what we know. And then maybe you can have a conversation. So tomorrow, I'm going to be talking to, who am I going to be talking to tomorrow? Who am I going to be talking to?
Well, Sydney looked it up and says just scan data versus information. Seems that the common theme is that data is the raw set of facts and information is organized and ordered data. That's right. That's what we were saying.
Yeah. Not according to me.
So the internet agrees.
Yeah, screw the internet. They're wrong. Basically, for me, information is those space-time coordinates. That's it. Space-time coordinates and the field that's at that coordinate. That's where the information is. Now, the description of the information is when we get to humans. Now we have these little apes squeaking at each other, and that is a whole different fucking ball game. So little apes making squeaky noises on a blob of goo that is like insignificantly small in the fucking cosmos. So just don't even go there. Anyway.
So you're going to talk to Ryan tomorrow.
Ryan from Save Me Apologetics. And I have linked I got his channel in the upcoming video, and that's going to be at 12 noon in the 1-2 true time zone, Central Time, the 1 true zone. And it is going to be an interesting talk because he loves Kent Hovind, and he thinks he's one of the greatest science communicators ever. Kent Hovind is.
And I have a review video I'm working on about one of his videos too. So
right.
We're gonna learn a lot about Ryan in the next few days here.
Yeah, we just did that. Anyway, he seems like a really nice guy, and I think we're gonna have a pleasant conversation. It's just gonna be me and him, and I'm gonna keep so we don't gang up on him. I don't want to gang up on him, and I just want to have
learn him what monophyly is and how to say it and how to spell it.
No, I think he said the Cambrian was like 300,000 years ago.
300,000. Yeah, he's quite confused. Of course, if he's getting his information from Hovind, you're going to be quite confused.
Yeah. 485 million years ago. Not 300,000.
He put out a 20-30 minute video, and I've got at least a dozen talking points to cover in his video that are all wrong. So,
can you expand on the philosopher's full of shit comment? It's because a vague discipline allows for so much interpretation, similar to abstract art or wine tasting. Yeah. Basically, philosophers they'll start with one area, one resolution, one category, and they will spin off. The other one will spin that person off into another category, another resolution, another step in the resolution game. And then that person will have to answer to that. And then somebody like Jimbob will come along and say, well, the word apple isn't written on the apple. And I'm like, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And you're not going to accomplish anything unless you start with what is physical and what is the space-time coordinates, and then define your fucking categories all the way up. If you're talking about
and how does God change where the physical coordinates are? It doesn't.
Yeah, God. Oh,
it's adding something unnecessary.
Well,
God is an unnecessary explanation for things that can be explained without God.
Well, do you know why I'm an atheist? Because God don't have no fucking space-time coordinates.
Right.
He's not here. Not here. Doesn't exist. Not a thing. It's like no space coordinates.
They're saying something about Hovind in the chat, and I was telling Mike before it started, I said, yeah, he cited Hovind. So I looked up the Rational Wiki on Ken Hovind.
Yeah.
And it starts out saying, calling creationism science ain't a crime, but cheating the tax man and assaulting your wife are.
Nice.
So if you want to know all about, and they've got all kind of quotes in here and a lot of his famous ideas and his DVDs, Dino Land. If you want to know all the goods about Hovind, look up the Rational Wiki on Hovind. It's an amusing read.
So awesome clips. I'm not familiar with you. Are you somebody I should know who has a different name now, or I don't know? And he wants to talk to
the Lawson sounds familiar.
I was thinking about
the Lawson part sounds familiar.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about putting the link out, but I think not, because I kind of want to get out of here and go. I gotta, like, this is incredible. Our Minnesota River, which is right below my house here, is I can actually see the goddamn river, and we're supposed to be 3/4 of a mile away from it, but it's like lapping at the hill, and it's covered my walkway, and I want to go down there and see the flood. We're at a 60-year high. It's a 60-year record that we just set, and it's the middle of summer. This isn't supposed to happen in the summer. It happens in the spring. We have amazing floods going on in Minnesota right now, and I think
somewhere a railroad bridge got taken out that's got like 45 feet of clearance or something like that.
Yeah,
and,
that was in Minnesota.
The river came up, was it? And it washed it right out. So yeah, that's a lot of water.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So awesome clips is a nobody. Let me just double check that and see if you really are a nobody. I got a feeling you're somebody. I got a feeling you have a space-time coordinate. Awesome clips. I found his website. I think this is it. A YouTube channel, I mean. Awesome clips. Is that you? Are you the one? The awesomes. Best of awesome videos. Oh my goodness. Best of cadence. Gotta check this out. Let's see. I don't know. It looks crazy. I think it's worth checking out. Oh my God. He's got a bow tie or a bow in his hair made of jewels some amazing sunglasses, and he's on a blue bike. I don't know. Is that you?
See, you see Sydney's comment? I was in a chat and said 3 philosophers at lunch will argue endlessly about how many are at the table. Someone immediately replied, define table.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you can't make headway with them. And I'm pretty sure my conversation tomorrow will dissolve into the same kind of bullshit, you know.
Well, that's Jim Bob has an endless thing. It never gets anywhere because no matter what you say, or even if you agree on something, he's just going to throw something else like, well, define tape. He's just going to always go. It never ends. There's no end to it.
Yeah. He'll change the category or change some goddamn thing. And yeah. And he doesn't listen to anything you say because he has no interest in understanding you. Now, the guy I'm talking to tomorrow, I think may be different. I think he may actually be sincere in wanting to understand what an atheist is, because his idea of what an atheist is really seems
wrong. He has no idea what an atheist is. None whatsoever.
Oh my God! I picked a fight with my son.
Yeah, it's atheist. Atheism is a religion. It's like, by what definition? I've got them all looked up.
So me and my son are having a conversation on messages, and I used all caps, and I used the word fuck to respond to him. And now he replied to me about 10 times while I've been on this stream. I think I picked a fight with my kid. Never use all caps, boys and girls, when you're talking to your kids or your parents. Anyway.
The bots and the mods don't like them either.
Yeah.
Please refrain from using all caps.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go repair my personal life now. So we're going to have to go.
Oops.
I fucked up. Don't know. Fun with floods. Sung to the tune of fun with flags. Okay.
But yeah, check out the links Mike put in the description. Interesting stuff. And, thanks everybody for stopping by.
So old Joe, how do I get on Jim Bob's Discord? Oh yeah, he's got links. I got to get on Jim Bob's Discord because
asking for trouble.
Yeah, well, Jim Bob really loves me. He really likes me because every time I make a comment, no matter how small, he will mention me on his show. And
because you're good for views.
Put my comment.
I was sitting there watching, and when you popped on, his views went up like 50 views. And as soon as you left, it dropped right back down again. So yeah, he likes having you there.
Atheism, yeah. Atheism is a religion. That's what we're going to be.
And then you got like at least 50 people in the chat calling you old balls and
homosexual,
everything else, and
gay pervert,
all kinds of good things. Loaded with gems in the chat, gives them all something to do. They love you over there.
Yeah, I like them too. I really love them.
Hey, Jim Bob, I'm wearing my shirt. I was thinking about you. Hippos are my spirit animal.
Oh,
you know why? Because hippos don't give a fuck about nothing and nobody.
Right.
Damn straight.
Okay, let's get out of here, Dave.
All right, good talking to you, Mike.
Okay.
See you later.
And thank you all out there in chat. I am saving the chat, and I will actually read every single one of them again. Okay, goodbye.